Do you know that there are 1.7 million podcast feeds out there and over 43 million episodes that are live and you can go listen to? That's a lot of true crime that you can dig into if that's your scene. But I want to talk to you today about one simple thing that you can do to help your podcast show up in search results, and that is to add a transcription to your show notes. So I'll tell you exactly why and how right after this. Hi, my name's Meg Casebolt, and I'm the founder of Love at First Search, where we help online entrepreneurs to show up in search results and then help turn those new people who found you into leads, subscribers, and sales. Today, I'm going to be talking specifically to my podcasters about adding a transcript to your show notes, whether or not you should do it, and how to get it done if it makes sense for you. So sometimes people push back at me about the transcript, and they say, Meg, I just want people to listen to my show. And if I give them the transcript, then I'm not going to get the download, and people aren't going to find me and they're not going to listen, and that sort of defeats the purpose of doing a podcast, doesn't it? I hear you, but I respectfully disagree. I think that the purpose of a podcast is not just to get more listeners. It's about getting your message out there. And so if you can provide a transcript to people so that they can get access to your message, regardless of whether they're a subscriber, regardless of whether or not they want to listen to you talk about this, the point is to get your message into their brains, not just into their ears. So if you've been resisting putting a transcript in your show notes, I'm going to explain to you why you need it. The first reason that you need a transcript in your podcast show notes is for Google. It is awesome that you have a podcast that people want to tune in and listen to, but Google's robots can't listen to it yet. So in order for you to show up beyond just the title of your podcast episode, if you want people to find you for the content that you're producing, the conversations that you're having, adding a transcript to your show notes can help Google to actually not just read what is happening in your podcast interviews, but also to index that and make it easy for people to find specific topics that you're discussing, even if they don't go in those little bullet points of what you discuss. So giving Google a chance to have its crawler bots read everything that you're writing can be huge in helping people find you for not just the title of the episode, but the actual meat of what it is that you're talking about. The second reason that you want to put a transcription in your show notes is for accessibility. There may be people in your audience who can't listen to your podcast. Some of them may be deaf or hard of hearing and therefore want to have the transcript that they can read. Some of them, it may just not be a convenient time to listen to a podcast. As a parent who has kids who are always climbing over me, sometimes I just want to be able to read something without having them go, oh, what are you listening to, Mom? What are you listening to? So even if you think, oh, there may not be people who are deaf in my audience, don't make any assumptions about who is out there and may want to be looking for what you have. And don't assume that people who are sometimes your podcast audience can't benefit from sometimes getting to be able to read it. Give people the chance to consume your content in whatever way makes sense for them, not just what's most convenient for you. The third reason to include a transcript in your show notes is so that people can share it more easily. Let's say you say something freaking brilliant in your podcast, but the person who's listening to it is driving and they are trying to remember exactly what it is so that way they can take it and put it onto an Instagram quote later, and they can't find it while they're doing all the other things. If they can just go in, remember about where it is in the podcast they were listening to, and pull that exact quote, or maybe you were mumbling and they just want to get that little part, it makes it easier for people who are already listening to you to get access to that information that is your expertise. So what's the best way to add a transcript to your show notes? First step, get the transcription done. You don't need to be the one sitting there and typing it all out. You can use a transcription service like Rev or Temi or Otter. Some of them have actual people who will listen to it for about $1 a minute, and some of them have AI and machine learning that will actually get pretty close to what it is that you're doing for more like 10 cents a minute or a monthly membership. So it's totally worth it to get the transcription done in an automated way where it's not taking more time for you. Step 2, write your show notes. Here's where you can embed an audio player where people can listen to the podcast on your site. You can also include links to where they can subscribe, so links to the Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes feeds. You can include your guest bio, links to their stuff, shareable images, links of anything that you discussed in the episode, anything that makes sense that your audience that's already listening to your podcast may want to find out about. You can include that in your show notes. Then, step 3, when you have that transcription, you can include it it right there in your show notes. It doesn't have to be text the whole way down, but I do encourage you to keep it on the same page instead of putting it on a separate page. You can use a toggle or an accordion folder so that way people who want the transcript can unfold it and have it come down, but it won't take up a ton of space for people who are just looking for links or embedded audio. If you want more tips for how to get your podcast to show up in search results, grab my free SEO for podcast checklist right below this, and I'll send you some tips about how you can help your podcast show up in Google, iTunes, and any other search engine that you're looking for. I'll be back next week with even more SEO tips. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you then.